Lesson number 3. Here we want to draw a coffee table. It's an oak veneer top with solid edges, 2mm solid edges, solid legs, and all its dowel together. Start with a new drawing. Now the best is to draw a small plan. Table is 1000mm long and 500 wide. And we have rounded edges, so we fillet them at 100mm radius. 100. Now we want to draw the legs. Again, they're 120 wide and 25mm thick in solid. Now we probably don't want to have them right in the corner here where you have to glue the edge on. It's probably be too much tension, so we want to have a bit of a flat spot for the edge to be glued on. So we just move them another 50mm internally, another 50mm. Okay, now we're going to mirror them around. And we also want to show the 2mm edge, so we just do a simple offset there. This time 2mm. Probably don't want to have an edge here, so we trim that off. So now we're basically ready to draw things in 3D. For the core of the board that needs to be edged, the easiest to use would be press pull. Just click in the internal area of our table, and since it's veneered board 32mm, it's going to end up with 33, so we put a thickness of 33 in there. Now we want to elevate it to the right height. It's 400mm high, so we can simply use the 2D move command. We click anywhere on a drawing, we move it up to 400. Now it's obviously 33mm too high. We could have made a calculation, or we can just simply move it down. We use this corner, we move it down. Now what we probably want to do is copy our 2D drawing, because we want to extrude some edges as well. It's a bit easier to use the extrude command, so we want to do a copy of this. Just copy that across. Now the next thing would be the legs. We just draw a box for that. And we bring it up to the top surface here. Now our edges, they're a little bit hard to press pull because there's a very small area here, so press pull doesn't work that way. So if you try to use press pull, it won't give us that internal area there. The easiest is to draw a polyline and extrude it. That gives you a solid. So all we need to do is we need to trim some of the lines here. Now we're able to join those lines together. Use the join command. Select the lines. Now this one is a polyline that can be extruded now to 33 millimeter. 33, and that's basically our edge now. These edges are only for display purposes. Analyzer manufacturing has its own edging system, so we don't really need to make it part of the analyzer assembly. So they're just for illustration purposes. Once we do our 3D drawing, we want to show edges there. The next step now would be to put part properties on those two parts. Use Analyzer CAD part properties. We select the benchtop first. And then the leg. So part name, we call it top. Material. It's any material. You can select something from the existing code, or you can just enter your own material. Call it now oak veneer particle board 32. We don't want to nest it, so we need to put anything. Don't need to put anything in user 1. User 2 is usually your edges. We want edges all around, so we just simply select A. And now the most important part is we actually have to give it an assembly. There's no assemblies at the moment, so we select the new assembly. We call it coffee table. And we use a construction type. In this case, we want to use dowels. And that's all. Now it's been copied into the part properties. Since the next part is part of the same assembly, we select next. We save this one now. So our next part now is our leg. The material is solid oak. We save that. That's all we need to do. Now those legs, obviously, we can mirror them around. Saves us adding part properties to 4 legs. We just simply use the midpoint of that line there. It should give us exactly the center line of the table. The next step is to complement the drawing by moving the edge to the place where it has to be. Just move. And we select the point that we can select as well on our table. Now we just mirror that to the opposite side. Select the edge. Select the midpoint. And now we just need to complement this edge here. So we can simply use our box command. Select the bottom here. And we use this corner here. We select it diagonally. It gives us a box straight away. Can match the two properties. Match properties. Okay, so now they're on the same layer. We move that around to the opposite side. Select the midpoint. And use our polar tracking for this. There's a couple of commands you can use in order to extract sections or plan views for our workshop drawing. So we can select the top view. We use Flatshot for this, but first we want to change the layer that we draw in. In our case it would be board, depends your company settings. We select Flatshot or simply type it in. Now we want to insert it as a new block. The color we want to keep by block. Obscured lines, we don't want to show them. Now if we press create, we place that somewhere here, and it's drawn it as a block that we can manipulate or move around. We can do the same thing for the elevation. We just change the viewpoint, and we use Flatshot again. Basically we use the same settings for this. We create it. Now it shows it sort of edge on, so if you use your viewpoint orbits, you can actually place it close to where you want it. You just place it somewhere near the plan view. In order to do sections, we use the section plane command. Again, I would change it to another layer. I've got one already ready here called section plane. Select this, and now you can put the section plane into your 3D drawing where you actually want to cut that table. Now, by default, it selects live section, so it cuts part of it off. I generally don't use that. I turn live section off, and now my table's complete again. It gives you directions where the view is going to go and where it's going to cut, and you can manipulate this around. If you use other things like conceptual, it actually shows you the whole plane where it is and how it cuts through the table here. Now in order to create that section, we click on the line. It gives us the option to generate the section block. Now this is quite a powerful command, and it gives you a lot of settings there. And you can manipulate things around. Basically, you want to do a 2D selection. You want to click all the objects. If you have complicated drawings, you want to have a section only to part of your objects, you select those objects. Otherwise, you just include all objects. You want to insert it as a new block. And the selection setting, this is now quite important. So we can say, all right, we want to have by a certain layer, we have our board layer that we really want to have it drawn into, so that the color will be by layer, our board layer. We can actually use an intersection fill. That means we can do hatching on boards. It's the preset is solid. We can select something like a cross line section, like an ANSI 31. Probably have to change the scale a little bit to 5, depending your drawing styles. The color, I think we want that by layer. The layer, if you have a hatch layer, you can choose that. The background lines, you want to show them, yes. The hidden lines, we probably don't want that. We turn that off. And again, we want that in our board layer. The cutaway geometry, no, we don't want to show that. And Curved tangent lines, no, we don't want to show that either. You probably want to save this in your template, so you have that all set up for your company standards. It's okay. We create our section, we just place it somewhere there. And again, it's a block. Going to plan view. The only thing it doesn't do is it doesn't draw your bottom lines, so you have to do them yourself. Probably want to go into a different layer here, possibly your wall layer or your document layer. Draw a line, just to complement the drawing. It makes it a bit easier to read. I want to extend this line here. We line up our section. Same thing here, we want to do a quick construction line. Use the line command for that. Line up that edge here with our plan view. That's all nice and in order now. Now you can basically do whatever you want. You can put measurements in here. Then you can put it into your layouts. Select something like shades of grey. You can freeze the section plane layer. Freeze it in this particular viewport here. It's just a quick way to show you how we can relatively quickly extract a workshop drawing out of a 3D model. Now you want to export this to Analyzer Manufacturing. It's probably a good idea to turn off a couple of layers here. We don't really need the section plane. And we really don't need the edges, since Analyzer is working out the edges by itself. So now we go into Analyzer CAD, select Analyzer button here, and we select our parts. Select our job number, 333. Less than 3. We'll call the number 141, and that's all we need to specify. Here's our coffee table assembly, and now our geometry script has been run. It just shows us the parts. Now it gives us all the machining, the tool path and drillings. It's rounding off the corners here. It cuts out the legs and it drills the dowels for the legs. Now the next thing we want to do is specifying the edges and materials. We go to job material equivalents. Our oak veneer board, we can say we call that board oak PB 32mm. The edge material is oak 2mm. Use 2mm roll edges for this. We don't need to specify a thickness since we already taken care of that. And the solid oak, we just leave it as it is. It's okay. Yes, we want to change this. We run the geometry script again, and now it's given us 4 edges in oak there. We can save this. Now we can have a look at the cutting list. So our standard cutting list. We have our oak veneer particle board here, and the 4 legs in solid oak. To send the cutting list to the beam saw, you would typically use file export for this. You got different export formats, so you use the OptiPlanning one. Press OK. Now it's been saved in this directory under lesson 03, and it's a CSV file that you should be able to import into your OptiPlanning software. That basically concludes lesson number 3. So I'd like you to submit us the lesson 3 A and Z file from Analyzer Manufacturing, as well as your drawing file for your coffee table. We forgot to save this, so definitely save this. And it would be lesson number 3 in this case. And yeah, please send me that file too. And that concludes lesson number 3.